Hey guys, welcome back. July has come and gone, which means I've read books for the month that we're gonna discuss. I read 4 books in the month of July. I am what's considered a slower reader. I work a full-time job and I have errands to run and I have other hobbies that I like to do. So to me, 4 books is a lot. I'm proud of myself for getting through 4 books actually. There was a pretty good variety of genres for this month, I think. I read a romance, a dystopian, a nonfiction, and a literary fiction. So I'm just gonna talk about each book for roughly 2 minutes. If it goes over, then so be it. But just 2 minutes is like my cut it. I do want to let you know that I do go off of a 10-point star system, as my initial video, my welcome video, had mentioned. I don't really like going off of a 5-point, mostly because I feel like it's too short mostly because I feel like it's just too little of, what's the word I'm looking for? Oh, it's too little of a range. Especially like when you think about it, if people say, oh yeah, this was a 2.5 out of 5. To me, I hear 2 and I'm immediately like, if you go off a 5-point rating system, just take what I say and divide it by 2 and there's your 5, okay? I'm gonna go off of a 10-point rating system just because it makes more sense in my head to give more of an accurate description for how I enjoyed the book. So the first book I read was on Kindle. It was a romance called The Wall of Winnipeg and Me. It is by Mariana Zapata. That's how I'm gonna pronounce her name because she spoke a little Spanish in this book, so I assume that she knows a little bit of Spanish by her name. This book is about an assistant and her boss, and they end up falling in love. But the way that they fall in love is a little bit unconventional because he is not from the United States and he wants to be. So there you go. The score that I gave this book was an 8.5 out of 10. I actually really enjoyed it. I thought that she did a really good job at making chemistry happen. A lot of romance books, you kind of go into them knowing that the 2 main characters are basically going to fall in love or love each other, and there's already this tension right off the bat, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but it's also nice to have a romance where that doesn't happen, and as you read, their chemistry grows and it's not something that you're like, okay, we're like this the whole time, you know? I just really enjoyed that aspect. I think she did a really wonderful job at having that grow as you read it. The only reason why I deducted a 1.5 was because there was a little bit of fluff writing. I did feel like the book was just a little too long at some parts. There really wasn't any need for some of the story points. They were just kind of like fun little things, but I think stuff like that could be shifted to another book. This could just be me, but I feel like she wrote a lot about Aiden's weight. Not necessarily ever in a bad way, but it was just like, okay, I get it, he's humongous. But she would say stuff like, and the stairs thunderbolted underneath his weight coming down, like the whole house shook. I'm shocked. What are those stairs made out of? Steel? And it's just like, okay, you're like borderline body shaming this guy and he's a pro athlete. Like, what are you doing, you know? So it was just one of those things that I feel like didn't need to be included in the book. If it wasn't in there, I wouldn't have missed it, and in fact I would have enjoyed it more. So that literally took off half a point of the book for me. Without that, it would have been a 9 out of 10. Would I recommend this book? I would. I actually really like it. It went by really fast for me. It's like 400 or 3 something, almost 400 pages. I think it's into the 400 range. If you're looking for a sports romance, I would recommend reading it. Second book of the month was Lucky Dogs by Helen Schulman. So this book is about 2 women who meet in France and they come across each other by an unlikely situation that unfortunately many women have been through, and they kind of bond over other situations similar to that one. And essentially one betrays the other. So you kind of go through each character's mentality as that unfolds. Except you don't. You go through one character's like thoughts as that unfolds, and the other character you just get like this backstory. So I didn't like it. I rated this one a 3.5 out of 10. I just feel like more could have been done, or what I really would have liked is no backstory or slight backstory, because there were 5 parts and it went through one main character, the other main character, back to one, back to 2, back to 1. We didn't really get to know too much about character 2 other than her backstory. I wish we would have had her thought process as it was occurring also, not just character 1's thought process. I was close to DNFing it, but at that point I was only like 100 pages away, so might as well finish it. If this whole book was just character 1, I think it would have been rated higher. Character 2 just didn't do it for me. She had a lot of stuff happen to her, and I do like knowing what happened to her to kind of get her to how she was to be, but she was so vindictive and we don't know why. We just literally don't know why, other than just jealousy, I guess. Would I recommend? I can't say that I would. I'm sorry. Third book that I read. This one was my favorite book of this month. This one's called The School for Good Mothers by Jessamine Chan. I gave it a 10 out of 10, which I was shocked when I was like reviewing it just to see what I would give it, because I have to give it a day or so after I read to think about what I've read. And this one was just so good. I think I just love dystopians because I do love Hunger Games. I love Divergent. This one just hit the mark for me on all those categories as well. This mother in this book, she leaves her child alone for about 3 hours or so, and she goes to get a coffee and she gets the police called on her and they take her daughter. But she has a chance at redeeming herself, obviously at the School for Good Mothers, where she learns how to be a good mother. And there's some twisted stuff that happens in that school, and the ending is just really, it was just perfect. It was so good and so well written. It made me so frustrated for her. And it's weird because you know she's a bad mother, but like no one would leave their child alone if they love their child, right? But it's just like you feel sorry for her and you want her to win. It's strange because I saw it on Goodreads and it had only 3.5 stars. This is why I can't trust the 5-star rating system. I hear 3 and I'm like, it's average. I can't wait to forget about it so I can read it again and just go through all the emotions again. I cried in this book, so that says something. I would recommend this to anyone. It was just so enjoyable. I really loved it. The final book I read of the month is called Caste: The Origins of Our Discontents by Isabel Wilkerson. This book is more so about the caste system for African Americans and how that came to be. Just as a clarification, because if you're expecting to hear about Mexicans or Asians or indigenous, you're gonna hear a few bits and pieces, but maybe like 4 sentences throughout the entire book. So just as a heads up, if you are looking to purchase this book, you're only going to really focus on one minority group throughout the entire book. I gave this an 8.5 out of 10. It was very eye-opening. I think it's something that even if you don't feel like you're ready, you're never going to be ready to read it, so that you can become aware of who you are and how you treat people. I did enjoy reading this book, and enjoyed is maybe the wrong word, but I enjoyed the accountability. Very rewarding in that sense to understand at a deeper level than what I will ever be or have ever been capable of doing. The only thing that I will say is for my nonfiction books, I do like being talked to rather than talked at. It was very textbook nonfiction, if that makes sense. So that was pretty much what it lost for me. And again, this is personal opinion on the writing style, not the writing content. I just wish people would wake up, and if this is the book that would get them to do it, then I hope that you guys do pick this up. She has all of her citations and footnotes at the very back, which I appreciated because that means more content to read. But yeah, 8.5 out of 10. Would I recommend this? Of course, I would recommend this to everyone in America. I don't even have a specific group that I would exclude from reading this book. So that's it for my July summary. I hope you guys enjoyed watching. I hope you guys take at least one book from this selection. If you guys don't want to wait the whole month to hear what I have to say about books, I do post every book that I read with thoughts similar to this kind of format on Goodreads and also Instagram, which I'll go ahead and put the link in my bio if you guys just want to go ahead and follow along as I read rather than having to wait a month to see what I've read. Thank you again. I will see you guys in the next video.